Well, hello, this is Deborah Johnson with you today. And at the Women at Halftime podcast, we help you to maximize your skills, your resources, and your experience at mid-career halftime of love for men and women. And today we're talking about self-leadership. And in a world driven by leadership, we often overlook that most essential form, self-leadership. It's easy to focus on leading others, whether it's in business, family, or community. But before we can effectively guide anyone else, we've got to learn to lead ourselves. Self leadership is the foundation of personal and professional growth, and it empowers us to take charge of our own lives, our decisions, and our directions. And in this podcast and article that comes with this podcast, we'll explore why leading yourself first is crucial, and then how to practice self leadership, and also how the transformative impact that it can have on your life. So stay tuned.
This podcast is brought to you by DJ Works Media with resources and ideas for you at mid-career or halftime of life. Check out our online courses where we want you to not only start, but finish. Books available in all versions, and songs available for immediate download with sheet music and instrumental accompaniment tracks. Our musicals are family-friendly with great music that's memorable and inspiring. Sign up at goalsforyourlife.com/newsletter for weekly updates. Now to our episode.
Well, let's talk about why self-leadership really matters. Self-leadership isn't just a trendy buzzword. It's a practical, actionable skill set that sets the stage for long-term success. And its core, self-leadership is all about taking responsibility for your own thoughts, your actions, and outcomes. Now, isn't it easy to see what others need to work on? Yes, it's very easy. But self-leadership means really to intentionally guide your own behaviors, to look in the mirror, to achieve personal and professional goals. And leaders who practice self-leadership are not only more effective in guiding others, but also more resilient, adaptive, and confident. So we're going to discover a little bit of that today. And here, we're going to talk about components of self-leadership, of practices, impact, and challenges. And I'm going to also give you some examples of influential leaders who exemplify self-leadership through purpose and conviction. So, number one, let's talk about the components of self-leadership. So, self-leadership consists of three fundamental components: self-awareness, self-management, and self-motivation. Self-awareness. Well, self-awareness is the ability to recognize your emotions, your strengths, and your weaknesses and values. Well, it's the cornerstone of knowing how to lead yourself effectively. Now, journaling is a good practice for developing self-awareness. And I've journaled for years, but something I don't often do is I don't go back and read what I've written. Well, now I'm trying to do that a little bit more because I'm finding it leads to discovery as well as encouragement, especially when I've been able to move beyond some of the challenging issues that I've written down about in that journal. It's a really good practice, so don't discount that. Well, another a quality of this is the self-management of our components. And self-management is the ability to develop the discipline to control your responses and maintain focus despite the challenges. Recently, I have a great little illustration for you. We attended an event where an individual, if I can say that, he was spouting off his knowledge, which was limited, and his opinions, which were also a bit off base, all about the way an upcoming professional baseball game should be played. Well, I turned to my husband as we sat listening to the nonstop verbiage that had taken over the table conversation, and I asked him quietly, yes, quietly, if this individual knew what he was talking about. Well, Greg just shook his head and said no. Well, I was really proud of the way he held back his comments because, I mean, he played professional and he knew exactly what should happen in that game and was very familiar with the strategy. Well, also, there are many times I have also sat and just kind of nodded my head when a person shares how much they know about the music business. And sometimes it's just good to smile, hold my tongue, and move on. That's self management, or as I say, self restraint. Oh, another component of self management is self motivation. Now, self motivation is cultivating the inner drive to pursue goals, even when external validation it's lacking. Now, goals are very important, and especially goals that are measurable and attainable. And reaching for the stars, it's a wonderful thought, and we should never quit dreaming. I do encourage others to do just that. But our goals should prove as positive affirmations that we are headed in the right direction and achieving success. And breaking down those long-term goals into tiny little short-term goals and steps, well, that's the key to making solid progress. Now, make sure you get our free goal setting worksheets for help with all of this. The link is in your show notes, also in the article. So let's move on to a second principle and the practices to strengthen self leadership. So here are some practical ways to develop and maintain self leadership. We should all be listening to this very carefully. Set personal benchmarks. So instead of just following these external goals, establish benchmarks that align with your values and your aspirations, and it will keep you grounded and purposeful. Now, if you've not taken the time to revisit your core values recently, take time to do this now. Those are the basics. Warren Buffett, who recently stepped down as CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, he's focused on humility, long-term thinking, and simplicity in his decision making. And his approach involves avoiding unnecessary complexity, and he focuses on intrinsic values over external pressures. And in other words, he keeps the main thing the main thing. That's a great principle, by the way. And those values have led him to be one of the top 5 richest individuals globally. Now, we don't all have that sort of goal, but that's what he does. And I cover core values in the appendix of my book, Stop Circling. If you're watching the video, you can see I will be holding it up right here, and it'll help guide your purpose. So another thing to do is to practice mindfulness and regular reflection. It helps you stay in tune with those feelings and reactions. And whether you're journaling or you're spending time in meditation, create enough space in your life to understand your mindset. And it's actually the first thing I do every morning. I spend about 15 to 20 minutes with a personal devotional and a book that's proven to even be more popular, especially this last year, the Bible. Well, I tell you, it helps to help me see the bigger picture. I can also just walk outside from my office and get away from my computer to gain perspective, get some of that perspective. And also to cultivate discipline. Successful self leadership often requires forming habits that foster consistency and focus. So we break those larger goals into smaller, manageable steps. And this discipline includes our eating habits, exercise, and even sleeping habits. Now, we recently visited a bakery where we left with a delicious loaf of multi-grain sourdough bread. I love fresh bread. But I can't eat the whole loaf, even though it's so yummy. I mean, it would be so tempting, but it takes discipline to cut off just a little piece and save the rest for another day. And I've also found at this stage of my life, good sleep has become more important. I mean, I used to be able to function on much less. But wow, I feel better. I get more done, and I can better fight off the colds or flus that circulate ever so often with good rest. I just have to go to bed early enough. So another part of this is to take responsibility. Own your choices and their outcomes. So we can acknowledge both successes and mistakes and learn from them. A couple words I try to never delete from my vocabulary are "I'm sorry." Now, for many, those are very difficult words to not only say, but to really to honestly admit. They shouldn't be trivialized, but those two words are powerful. They have the power to restore relationships. So don't discount them. I'm sorry. And then into another principle here is to invest in continuous learning. Stay curious. Be open to new ideas. And then it's an ongoing process. And this is very important in these days of exponential growth in AI. Well, now I've written about that in my new upcoming book, Power of After. Now is the time to explore, read, and learn about technology and the explosion of AI tools. Developing a basic understanding by getting beyond the fear, well, that's a huge step. At least get beyond some of that fear to read about it and to learn about it. So 3, let's move on. What is the impact of your on self-leadership on your personal and professional life? Well, when you lead yourself first, you're building a solid foundation for leading others. Self-leadership, it fosters a sense of purpose, clarity, and inner confidence. We've talked about that. And in a professional setting, it translates to better decision-making, stronger relationships, and the ability to inspire and motivate teams. Now, Steve Huffman is the CEO and co-founder of Reddit. That's a social media platform and online community, if you're not familiar. And it's approximately a $19 billion company, and he's worth over $296 million. But he advocates for honesty and vulnerability, believing that those qualities are essential for building cohesive teams. Now, Huffman's leadership style is very similar to Buffett's. It's grounded in core values and principles. So spend time with those core values. Well, let's move on to number 4, overcoming challenges in self-leadership. Self-leadership is not always easy. There will be moments of doubt, setbacks, and resistance. It can be very humbling and even discouraging. And the key is to remain persistent. It's one of my strengths. Be persistent and consistent and adaptable. You get through so many things this way. Practice that self-compassion. As harsh self-criticism, that can really hinder your growth. We face enough self-doubt and imposter syndrome. So get beyond that. And when that happens, focus on that resilience. And this is where journaling and taking time for reflection, it does pay off. Those practices encourage renewed intention and energy. Well, so let's talk about a couple takeaways here. And these are all in the article as well. Make sure you get the article, get our newsletter. You will get a link to the article. You won't miss a thing. Number 1, leading yourself is a mindset and a lifelong commitment. And number 2, self-awareness, self-management, and self-motivation. It forms the foundation of self-leadership, awareness, management, motivation. Number 3, self-leadership positively impacts your personal and your professional life. If you want positive impact, really start focusing on that a little bit more. And number 4, influential leaders, they practice guiding themselves with purpose and conviction. They have healthy habits. And number 5, strong self-leadership benefits your business, your family, and your relationships. Who doesn't want that? So take the reins of your own journey and my own journey. I do the same thing. And lead yourself first, and you'll be surprised how far it takes you. And this just takes time, just to spend a little time journaling, get outside, get some perspective. I gave a brief live stream recently on the Golden Gate Bridge and how leaning into some of the difficulties really, it helps them accomplish building an incredible bridge like that. Incredible. It was started so many years ago, 1933, but it has lasted and all the way through this time. And so we want our businesses and our messages to last. And a lot of that starts with building that resilience and overcoming some of the issues are life issues. Journaling helps, spending that time, meditation, really focusing on core values. I hope this has helped you today in many ways that you're encouraged. Again, get our newsletter, goalsforyourlife.com/newsletter. We have a new book coming out, Power of After. You want to make sure that you get that. It's an amazing book. And I do cover, of course, some self-leadership in it, but of AI and of building the lifestyle and the business that you want at mid-career, half-time of life. So thank you so much for being with me today. I look forward to being with you again next time. I'm here at least once a week, if not more. So thanks again, and I'll look forward to being with you again next time.
Thank you for joining us. It is because of our wonderful listeners like you that we keep going strong week after week. We'd love it if you'd share and follow us to not miss a single show and even write a review. You can also find all of our articles, products, and links at womenathalftime.com.